Hi, Sandy. Tell me all
Hey,
about you. What's
hi,
going
Carol.
on?
Well, let's see. I'm on Lopez Island. I'm the director of the Lopez Community Land Trust, and we met through some mutual friends in Seattle. That's how I got connected with you and found out about your work and your artistry and your vision and all. And yeah, we just love to hear more. So I've been working with Community Land Trust probably for the last, 30 some years, 33, 34 years. And I find it an incredibly flexible, versatile tool for building and strengthening community around food security, around housing, cooperatives, all those kinds of things that help a community ground in itself, and especially in an area like ours where the real estate market is out of control. And when a real estate market is out of control, a lot of people get left by the wayside. And a community land trust, of course, is all about holding the land in trust for community purposes. So that's what I've been working in, studying, just learning to be more adept at understanding just how the tool works and how we can support it to strengthen communities. Yeah.
I love that you call it a tool. That's really awesome. We're going to talk more about that.
Yes, yeah, because we need a lot of tools, don't we, in this
Right?
world? Yeah.
Um, well, I'm Carol, and I'm the founder slash creator of BIPOC Stack, which is the BIPOC Sustainable Tiny Art House community. And I'm currently the lead consultant on that project. Some of the updates that have been going on have been pretty amazing. We've become a part of a group called CORD, Community Organized Resource Development. We've been a part of them for like 2 years, but now they actually got a grant from EDI to get really, really organized. And it's about 20 to 25 BIPOC. No, actually, I think it's BIPOC business owners in this area that are looking to leverage community power to purchase land, which is really awesome. Um, and then we've also basically become a part of Brighton Development Group, which is a small group. It's about 5 of us that are doing specifically acquisition in Southeast Seattle. And the other really amazing thing is we ordered our first 3 tiny houses, and we opened it's the Resident Artist Center, which is where I'm staying at while I'm here in Seattle, on 46 and Holly Street. So it's Southeast Seattle as well. It's in the Brighton neighborhood. And the residency center is like a co-work space, collab space where artists can come and they can paint, they can work, they can use their laptops, and do retreats or meetings or just work. And then with that, on top of that, we brought on artist in resident, and she is working, her specific niche is construction and turning like spaces into beautiful spaces. And so she's working with her mentors to help us kind of do the flooring and build a tiny house in the backyard and put it up and all these really cool projects just around the house. So that's also happened with her. And then, like I said, the 3 tiny houses have been ordered. So I ordered 2 12 by 10s and 1 8 by 12. And the 8 by 12 is going to go in the front, and it's going to be turned into a sauna for like 2 to 3 people. And it's small enough that we're hoping that it's going to invite people into the space, right? Like, people are going to be walking by and be like, what? Is that a tiny house? Wait a minute. Or what is that? Right? So that's the purpose of putting it at the front of the house. And then at the back of the house, we're going to put the 8 by 12, which we just also submitted our permitting and stuff for. So that's really exciting. I don't know if we're going to build it out yet, but we're definitely going to build it up so that people can walk in it and experience the space. And
can I ask you a couple of questions about when you order these?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Well, is it pre-manufactured or does it come as a kit? Or I don't really understand how it works.
Right. So we've partnered with an agency called Arch Cabins, and they basically, their mission is aligned with our mission in terms of wanting to create housing for folks that cannot afford to purchase a traditional house, right? So
Okay.
they build the exterior, and then we partner with their engineer who has all different types of floor plans. And then we build out the inside according to their floor plan that's already approved through whichever city that the house is going to.
Okay, so is it a national distribution, or is it specifically for Washington State?
No, they're actually located in Texas, and they are national. They're looking to go global, but right now they're national. Yeah.
Yeah, love it.
And it's really exciting. It's really exciting because it cuts the cost of actually building a tiny house by almost 70%. So that decreases the cost of how much, like, if we're looking to, I'm gotta grab this animal because she keeps
Hello.
jumping up on me. Hi, Diamond. Say hi to everybody.
You look like
She
you
just
got a
wants to be in the
haircut.
mix. Yeah, she
Wow,
does.
got a haircut and everything.
The beautiful thing about it is that because it decreases the cost of how much it would be to actually or not purchase, but build, what we're able to do is use upscaled recycled materials for the inside, which also reduces the cost. And so then we can build like a really nice size, even 2-story tiny house for $30,000. That's like with the big size one. The biggest one is about, I think it's 20 by 30. So it has 2 bedrooms. It has like a porch off the top. It has a living room, dining room, kitchen, and a bathroom. So it's a nice size space, you know, that's the largest one. And we're looking at the largest ones being, if we actually acquire land without a house on it, that would be the central house. And then we would put the smaller houses around it.
And
Yeah.
Seattle allows you to zone, I mean, is there zoning okay?
So that's the other part of the stuff that we're working with. So we actually, because we got an EDI grant through the city of Seattle, we're working with the city of Seattle to help like leverage community power to get a lot of that zoning and permitting shifted. But before we can do that, they want to see it, right? They want to see that it's actually a physical thing, that it's, you know, so the one on this property, it's basically a prototype, this house.
Okay.
But the other thing that has come into fruition is that there's a house across the street with an extra lot. And my architect has figured out that we can fit probably 6 to 8 tiny houses on that lot. And so my plan is to basically see if, you know, we have a couple of outstanding grants. And if we get one of those, then I'll be in the position to be able to purchase the house across the street. And with that money, we can put tiny houses on it. So hopefully I'll know all that by December.
By December?
Yes.
That's 3 weeks away.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, my fingers are crossed for you. Yeah. You know,
that's like so exciting.
You all are doing that because that is very similar to a track we're taking up here. We're trying to get code that allows tiny houses. And right now it's, you know, they're not allowed anywhere. So it's kind of impossible to do this if you don't have the land use to follow it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other challenge, right? Is that it's not only the land that can be zoned for it. That's one reason why we can't put more than one on this property, is because of the zoning. But the other half of that is that, you know, the cool thing about tiny houses is that we could build them and put them up, but nobody can live in them unless we have city approval. Like we could put them on beam and post so that you can take them down. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Not put them on a permanent foundation. But my desire is to have them on permanent foundations, just so. But I mean, even if we decide that that should be the prototype and this could remain a residence center, then I could still build them over there, you know, and get permitting for construction use, as opposed to, so it'd be more like building sheds, as opposed, because nobody would live in them, as opposed to like building them for, but you know, the grant is for that. So
yeah. But I
I've
mean,
got
how
to figure
wonderful.
out how to build it so folks can actually own them and live in them.
Yeah, and to live there, because I mean, if you have a
Yeah.
central house and then you've got these, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that your artwork I'm looking at right behind you?
Yes, that is.
I love it.
I don't even know if you can see it.
I
Yes.
can. I
Yeah.
love it.
It's
Yeah.
I just hung them. Yeah.
Really, really attracting me. I mean, the conversation is too, but yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
love
like
that.
really, yeah. That was a fun one, Stu. Thank you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So tell me more about land trust. So I actually have just a couple questions, and I know you have to leave here soon.
Yeah.
My first question is basically about the structure of a land trust, right? So so the land is put into trust with what entity? Is it an organization? Is it a nonprofit? Is it a corporation? Is it a business? Like, what is the actual like entity in which a land trust is held? And then how do the folks, like, per se, if there were the tiny houses that people actually owned, have control over that land?
Okay, so a community land trust in traditional, right? Because there's lots of spin-offs and they're still called community land trust, but I'm going to give you the traditional kind of organizational makeup of a community land trust. A group of people come together and they form a 501c3 nonprofit. That means they, with 501c3 status, they can accept donations and give a tax receipt for it, right? So it leaves you in a better position to receive either land or money or whatever, and the donor can get a tax deduction for it. So it makes it a little bit more attractive and versatile as an organization. So it's organized as a nonprofit in the state, and it's recognized as a 501c3 organization by the federal, by the IRS. Then once you've established that, you have to say what your service area is. And let's say that you establish one and your service area is King County. Then you would go about getting and setting up a tripartite board, meaning you would try to have representation of 3 people who are either living on the land or, when you start up, of course, nobody's living on the land because you don't have it. So either living on the land or want to live on the land, and they are considered to be leaseholder representatives. Then there are those who are general members, and those are people that are interested. Usually you find general members are people in the community, and they are generally interested to see you succeed, and they want to be your member, and they want to support you, and they want to be there for you. So they would make up 1/3 of the seats. So now you've got 2/3 of your board set up with leaseholder representation and general member representation. The other third of the board is set up in what they either call, public representation or certain skill set. And that might be somebody from the mortgage industry. It might be someone who maybe is a land use attorney, people like that. And so if you look at it, you've got this triangle of representation that makes up the board. And the idea there is that all of that, there's always this dialogue on the board whenever things are being discussed. So you're discussing it from, say, a public broad perspective on how you can do this according to laws, etc. You've got leaseholder representation, you've got general community representation. So it makes up for a balanced, discussion. Then once you've got your board and you've got your articles of incorporation, you've got your 501c3 status, you've got your bylaws that talk about how you're going to govern. And then let's say that you've done all of that, and now somebody comes to you and they're offering you, several $1 million land, etc. And you can accept all of that. and you've got your governance set up so you can manage all of that. And then you probably, as a community land trust, start inviting the community in to help shape and form. How are we going to develop this property? What's our, we know our general mission, but what's our mission specific for this property? And in your case, do you want, that it's BIPOC, that it's for artists, and you want to have a central house for, residency, right? So then you've got all of that formed. And let's say that 10 people are selected. You have some criteria based on, that they meet the criteria that you set out. Those folks start applying. And sometimes, you want to check for their, are they going to pay on time? Are they going to have good credit? Things like that. But anyway, they are meeting your criteria. They are selected. And let's say that you want to do fee simple ownership on community land trust land, because each of these artists that is there is going to own their own tiny house and then have a undivided interest, common interest in that central house. Okay, so you would then have say a 99-year ground lease with the person for that fee simple house, and the community land trust would hold that ground lease and manage it and make sure that the terms, right, are being adhered to by this person. But it gives the owner not ownership of the land, but fee simple ownership of the house. And in order to stay on the land, right, they've got their ground lease that says, maybe they pay $60 a month for the ground, and then otherwise they take care of all the payments on the house.
Got it.
So that's one way. And then you would have a probably some kind of proprietary lease with the the interest in the common building. Or the common building might be owned by the community land trust, and by the very right that they are living on that land, they have access to it. And then that's stipulated. Now there's other ways to do it, right? You could form a cooperative and invite all the artists to form a cooperative, and the co-op would own all of the buildings, and in turn, the co-op would lease the land from the community land trust. They would own all those buildings, and then through a 99-year lease, they would give a lease to each one of the artists that were occupying it. So that's another way you could do it. But there's lots of ways to structure it, and it primarily depends on the group and what their purposes are. I think for a lot of people, it's important to build some kind of equity, so that when you're making a payment every month, you're also building equity. So you have to look at that. And then I think another component is you want to build equity, but you also would like to pass on affordability to the next generations of people. And so all of that becomes a balancing act. And the board, is representative, and they are discussing all of that. But there's tons of these around now. There's probably close to 300 in the United States. And yeah, there's just a lot of examples. So once your group gets a basic idea of how you want to do this and what's important to you, then you start to craft your documents so that they're in service of the community. And also the community is in service of the land and the long-term vision to make sure that this is all remaining stewarded and affordable for the generations to come, as well as being fair and equitable to those who are entering into it. Yeah.
Wow, that was great.
But you can kind of see how you can use it as a building block.
Yeah, for
Once
sure.
the land is secured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I had no idea that you could do co-op and a land trust. So those are two separate things. Like the actual owning of the house or having it be all co-op is a completely different model than actually just the land trust. The land trust is really
Yeah.
just all about the land. That's just
It
basically.
really is. It's about the land and it's about stewarding the vision. And it's also about making sure that the land is in service of the community, you know, for a long period of time.
Right.
But yeah, they're really the land trust board and that organization is really steering and you know, really taking care of that land and the vision and community that comes with that. Yeah, you know, it's really interesting in the United States. There are lots of housing co-ops. I shouldn't say lots because basically there's lots of fee simple, you know, houses owned by banks is what really happens in the United States and rentals. But there are probably an equal number of co-ops and community land trusts, and they hardly ever combine with each other. You know, mostly you'll see community
Yeah.
land trusts or you'll see co-ops.
And do you know why that is?
Well, I'm not positive why that is, but I can tell you the folks that I've met, you know, that gave rise to co-ops, you know, first co-ops were given rise to, I think, in the 20s and 30s when workers were organizing, not just about worker rights, but about the right to have decent housing, right? And co-ops were formed then. But over the generations, what's happened with co-ops, if they don't have the underpinnings of a community land trust, the co-ops will tend to dissipate because typically what happens is that they will raise, you know, in value, right? And the co-op, the members who are living there have the right just among themselves to decide to sell. Whereas with a community land trust, you don't have that right. You have the right, if you all want to leave, you have the right to tell the community land trust, you know, we'd like to put this up for sale and the community land trust can buy it and then have it be in service of the community. But I think one reason more community land trusts don't develop co-ops is it's really hard to get financing for co-ops nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get financing for it. Yeah. So, but we can talk about that because there's a new conversation starting to happen with the Washington State Housing Finance Commission that I think we all should be involved in, specifically about community land trusts. And we can also make it about financing for co-ops because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you know, they said we will underwrite fee simple ownership of homes and mortgages on community land trust land, but they don't touch co-ops. So a housing finance commission could probably play a role in that. And you're in Seattle, they're in Seattle. It's a good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to try and get a connection there.
I'll
yeah, that'd be great. I would love that.
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, because I mean, right, access to money is really important.
Right. Well, and somebody else had said that I need to look at HUD nationally, but the challenge that, because I've been looking at stuff for HUD and most of their grants are around land preservation. So that's like if you're going to use the land to preserve a frog, or if you're going to use the land to preserve the trees, or if you're going to, there's not a lot of like, and most of their money is for renting, you know? And so I'm really trying to figure out like how to find resources that support ownership as opposed to, you know, long-term rentals. Yeah.
No,
but you know,
yeah.
I also had a question about, because I know you have to go really soon. I just got out of a meeting and they were talking about land trust, and one of the guys said to me, he says, you know, I am not for land trust and this is the reason why. And I said, well, I don't understand. I said, I get it if somebody owns. So this was his thing. He said that most people of color that would put their house into a land trust would end up generationally losing it, because once the original person who had it in a land trust dies, then the people who inherited are people of the family, and they don't see the need or the reason for a land trust, because they don't necessarily always understand the financial structure around why and what is the most important reason why the person actually did a land trust in the first place. So the land ends up getting like put back into the community in some way, or put, you know, for developers that are not in the community. And so I'm kind of curious what you think about that, because I'm just like, this model is not necessarily where the land trust would be owned by a person. It would probably be owned by the business, like what you said, like by the nonprofit.
Right.
And so I'm not sure if that is something that could happen if it were owned by a nonprofit or a business, you know, well, I guess if the nonprofit went out of business, but I don't see how that would happen if the tiny houses are supporting somehow financially the land trust. You know what I mean?
Right, and also,
You
you know,
understand what I'm asking?
I think I do, and I just want to say that I think, you know, depending on what your goals are, it's not perfect for everybody in every situation, right? Yeah, because wealth creation, you know, is really important. And with a community land trust in a market that is, you know, rapidly increasing, some of that wealth is always passed through and held by the community as a whole, and the individual gets some of it. So you're always sharing. At the same time, if the market plummets, you know, the individual is protected and the community absorbs some of that.
That's
But
through a land trust, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, there's a balance, but I think I understand. So here's the thing, you know, when you start a community land trust, in your articles of incorporation and in your bylaws, you have to state what will happen if you cease to exist. And you have to say in there that all of your, you know, your business, your assets will go to or towards a like-minded organization or something. So it would probably be transferred to a similar nonprofit or land trust or whatever. But in terms of the legacy, and let's say you own your house and you leave it to your daughter, and your daughter decides, okay, I don't actually want to live there. Then yes, it would stay. The community land trust would keep the land. If your daughter inherits it, she would sell the house according to your agreement, and it would no longer be in your family that way.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's similar.
But the land is still the same. It's not, yeah, that would just be the house part of it.
Yeah, but the
Right.
land is still there. Yeah.
The what is still there?
The land is always there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's, you know, all of these things I think are, they're very nuanced in some ways. And that's why in the beginning, when a community discusses what are my goals, you know, it is to support and grow wealth creation. It is to support artists. You know, you list all of those things and make sure that all of your founding documents do that, and keep it balanced with what is going to happen in future generations. Yeah.
Right. Wow, this has been really good. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
Wow, this was like
Yeah.
such a wealth of information. Yeah, it's a lot more clear to me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm feeling like I just know by the beginning of January next year, I'm going to need to know all of this stuff. And I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to like explain all this to me.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think a lot of it happens, you know, once you start like with your vision and get your vision clear, then basically you want all of these documents, everything that you do, to be in service of that vision, and protected by, the laws as they are now, etc.
Right.
But it's important that your vision be clear enough that all the supporting documents can support you. Yeah, as opposed to taking something off the shelf and saying, okay, well, this is what we've got, let's fit ourselves into this particular document, and you don't really want to go about that. But there's a Northwest Community Land Trust Coalition, and I'm going to send you some information about that, because we're going to have a conversation, I think, pretty soon. And I'm going to invite you to, if you would like to join us.
Yeah, I'd love to join you. So
Yeah.
do they have like regular meetings or regular sessions, or?
Yeah, like once a year, basically.
Oh, okay.
But it's nice because, right now, so about 10 years ago, there was some support through the legislature to help, start up community land trusts with training and development of documents and board training and all that kind of stuff. It was really helpful. And there's a movement afoot right now to try and get that again. And it is really an impressive amount of help. And also it helps ground us, because, like people keep telling me, oh, you should, work with HUD and all that. But honestly, they don't work for what we're doing.
They
money
don't.
is tied up in a way that I think I do not want to like contort myself to try and fit into that money.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Yeah.
have that money fit into our service of community.
Right. Well, and it'd be really cool to figure, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I have time for that, but it would be really nice to even have a conversation with HUD, like nationally, and be like,
I know.
other ways to do this.
I wish they would. I keep thinking, if new housing or HUD directors get in, that they will actually ask some of us what we need.
Yeah.
Would be nice. But
Yeah.
we're kind of outliers in some ways, so I don't know if
Yeah.
we're ever gonna beat us. Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Well, Carol, I just love your vision, and I mean, I've not known you very long, and it just seems like you do so much with like fast getting all those houses. And I'm gonna
There's
look
just
those
a
up.
lot of really cool people working with Hunt. I mean, I'm not doing this by myself.
I can understand that, but I'm
Yeah.
looking up Arch Cabins. I want to see what's going on.
Oh, definitely. And
Yeah.
I thought I sent you some links to their website. I'm like
Yeah,
promoting them. They're getting a lot of business from me, I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah. Well, definitely. I have some videos here I can send you probably in the next couple of days if you can't find
Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to send you a little information too on the Housing Finance Commission.
Sounds great. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Same here. Take care. Stay in touch.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Ciao.
Bye-bye.